What's going on? Welcome back to the channel. So today when I talked about the top 5 short squeeze stocks that you need to add to your watch list going into this upcoming week. So I want to go over all the things that you need to know, but first make sure to hit that thumbs up. And with that, let's get right to it. So starting off with stock number 5, you have Polestar. Right now it is at 106. Over the last 1 year, it is up 36.28%. And then over the last 5 days, pretty much flat. And even generally speaking, over the last several months, it's been somewhat flat. Moving over to shorts. So 11.57% of the free float is being shorted. That does work out to be 43.67 million shares overall being shorted. Cost to borrow average 16.91. That is a annual rate, not a daily rate. And then short score, so the higher the number, the higher the likelihood of a squeeze happening, is sitting at 87.05. So shorts have been slowly increasing, nothing dramatic, and as you can kind of see, back in April, short interest was roughly around 10.42%, so it went from about 10 to 11%, so whoop-de-doo, nothing overly crazy. But then again, if you kind of look at the price action, what's been happening, it kind of does coincide with that for the most part. One thing I do want to draw to your attention though is DTC. So that does factor in Polestar's average volume in comparison to the number of shares being shorted. So 12.82 days. That is much higher than a lot of what people call squeeze stocks. So that does signal the magnitude of a potential squeeze. So if Polestar, for instance, puts out a good piece of news, then you could see shorts kind of start to mitigate some risk, right? And I think just generally speaking, the EV market has been slaughtered, suppressed for quite some time. And now with optimism associated to cutting of rates, whether it be 50 basis points, 75 or whatever else, that's going to be really good for just the broader market, EV sector. And so hopefully this might be the time to potentially break out. So again, something to keep in mind. One thing I do want to bring up though is the number of shares available to short. So at the time of doing this video, there's roughly around 1 million shares. If you do have a stock that does get somewhat limited supply, you could see some buying from big players, BlackRock, Vanguard, and so forth, because they will buy the stock, which will add buying pressure, moving the stock price higher. And then of course, those names will just lend it out. So that's a very common thing that a lot of institutions like to do, but probably won't really happen in Polestar's case since they have 1 million shares available. So this is stock number 5. Moving on to stock number 4, you have NIO sitting at 462 over the last 1 year. It is up 18.77%, and then over the last 5 days, down 2.94%. Right now, 12.19% of the free float is being shorted, works out to be 188.04 million shares overall being shorted. DTC, 3.86 days, so not on the same magnitude as Polestar, but still generally that is kind of high. Cost to borrow is kind of on the low end though, so 3.5%. That's why we have a shorter or lower short score, so 71.49. And on Wednesday, shorts did increase roughly around 3.07 million shares. Through IBKR does indicate roughly around, looks like in excess of 10 million. So most likely you won't be seeing any buying from BlackRock and whatever else just to lend out. And even aside from that, cost to borrow is kind of on the low end on a side note. So NIO is stock number 4. On a side note though, if you actually do own any of these stocks, give yourself a shout out in the comments below. And if you'd actually want to see shorts get squeezed out of your stock that you're investing in, whether it be NIO, Polestar, or whatever else I'm going to bring up. But NIO is stock number 4. Moving on to number 3, you have good old Rivian sitting at 12.28. Over the last 1 year, it is down 9.31%. Over the last 5 days, up roughly around 1% or somewhat flat, but still nonetheless 19.3% of the free float is being shorted. That works to be 153.13 million shares overall being shorted. Cost to borrow average 0.96%. Cost to borrow minimum is negative, so that does mean that there is brokers out there physically paying people to short Rivian. So there's some sketchiness happening behind the scenes. Short score 71.88, and the reason why that's kind of on the low end is because of utilization. Cost to borrow is kind of low. But again, DTC, I want to always draw your attention to that because that's pretty much a very similar scenario in all these cases. This is at 4.87 days. So shorts arguably are very overextended with Rivian, NIO, and Polestar. So all you need is a very good catalyst, whether it be specific to the company or just the broader market, aka rate cuts, then you could see shorts start to mitigate some risk. Aside from that, through IBKR does indicate around 4.2 million shares is available to be shorted. So most likely you won't be seeing any kind of buying. Plus, cost to borrow is kind of on the low end on a side note. Moving on to stock number 2, Faraday Future. And over the last 1 year, it is down 63.97%, but over the last 5 days, it is up 12.81%, and then over the last 1 month, up 46%. So this stock has definitely been the shining light within the EV sector. 26.91% of the free flow is being shorted, works out to be 24.91 million shares overall being shorted. Cost to borrow average 13.9, short score is 74.74, DTC 1.7, and you can kind of just generally see that shorts have been returning. This was always hovering around that 40% range, and now it is sitting at 26.91. So short started to kind of catch on, mitigate some risk. Through IBKR does indicate roughly around 650,000 shares is available to be shorted. So this is stock number 2. And then moving on to the last one, stock number 1, Lucid. So they are sitting at $2.34. Over the last 1 year, it is down 23.78%. And then over the last 5 days, it's gaining some pretty good traction, up 7.67%. And 31.84% of the free flow is being shorted, works out to be 399.66 million shares overall being shorted. Cost to borrow average 5.27, short score 72.1, DTC 2.84, and just generally shorts have been really doubling down. It went from around, it looks like 22% short interest in February to where it is now at almost 32%. All-time high is about, looks like 33.52. So very close to the all-time high short interest. Through IBKR does indicate roughly around 4.8 million shares is available to be shorted. So most likely you won't be seeing any buying as well in this case, but still, nonetheless, all these stocks potentially have a good likelihood of a squeeze. All it needs is that nice gentle push from the broader market. So let me know your thoughts on these stocks. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up. One final thing, pop over to my Patreon if you're looking for some solid buy signals on stocks, options, crypto, many of which have been absolutely on point. Definitely worthwhile to pop over there and take a look. With all that said, appreciate all of you watching.